That's the thing. Is keep evolving. Hello, everybody. The rumors of our decline are very much exaggerated. I can't remember the actual quote, but welcome back to a very short live stream. Now, when I say short, I will probably be here for like 45 minutes. I always say I'm going to be here for a short period of time, and then I will be here for an extended period of time. You join me in my home office, which is also the edit suite for Transport Evolved. I actually have a 3D print going on in the background right now. I'm in the process of printing an enclosure for a Bamboo X1 Plus expander in light of recent regulatory challenges to 3D printing and also maker spaces. So that's going to be something that we're going to be working on in the near future. Hello to everybody. You'll see that the comments are now appearing in our live stream live. I ask you to be polite and courteous and not to swear and not to say stupid things in or mean things in the live stream. If this works well, we can keep it on. If not, it will go away very quickly. I can turn it on and off just by flipping this button right here. Look, it's gone. It's back. Don't make me use that button. So nice to see you all here today. Thank you for the kind words and support. We are going to be going back to normal production next week, whatever normal production is. And this is an informal behind-the-scenes little chat with everybody to let you know what's been going on. First, I apologize for the radio silence. There's been a good reason for that. Namely that I and some other team members, we're not great at looking after ourselves. We tend to focus a little bit more on making sure we hit these goals and these deadlines. We're all quite driven folks. We're all sort of somewhere on the neurodivergent spectrum. And so we do tend to have a propensity to overperform rather than focus on ourselves and our own health. And as those of you will know, we, and I say we, it was myself, Erin, and Vi, were heading off to Aptera. We kind of dropped some big hints that we were going. If you were in the Discord chat room, you probably knew about it. If you were in the Patreon channels, you would know about it. But we were invited down to drive the latest production intent Aptera. We were very excited. We were not the only people to do it. Some other channels got there before us simply and purely because our schedules didn't line up and we couldn't get down there sooner. And unlike some of the other folks who filmed with them who are quite local to Aptera, for us to go down is effectively a week-long commitment. So we needed some time to make sure we could afford it, to make sure that we had everybody available, to make sure our schedules all aligned. And so a week yesterday, fresh off of finishing the last episode of 10, we jumped in the car. It was myself, Vi, and Erin, and we drove down to San Diego. We overnighted in Sacramento, and then we headed off to San Diego. And the goal was to head down to Aptera's headquarters on Monday morning and do some filming with them. We were going to film basically all day. We were going to go and do some proper chase shots. We took my F-150 Lightning down there. We took the camera rig, the big thing that we put on the back of the hitch of the truck. And there was a bunch of other stuff. Sorry, my throat is a little bit raw today. I apologize. So we went down and we were going to film pretty much all day. And then we were going to head back on the Tuesday and be back here in Portland Wednesday evening in order for me to turn around on Thursday morning and produce and film, write the script on Thursday morning for 10, film it Thursday afternoon, edit it Friday and get it out the door, and then collapse in a heap on Saturday. Unfortunately, the best laid plans of mice and men and all that, we were not far from our hotel. and we were at a stoplight, and I was at a full stop, and somebody ran into the back of us, or someone's car ran into the back of us. So it was a low speed impact. It was an older vehicle. I'm being intentionally vague because there's still there's still an ongoing police investigation. There's still an ongoing insurance investigation. So I hope you will understand that I am not trying to be I'm not trying to withhold information, but also I'm cognizant of there is only so much that I can talk about at the time. My truck was already obviously stopped, and the impact of somebody running into the back of us pushed the truck forwards a bit. It actually smushed the 3D printed hitch cover that we had in the back of the truck. We normally use a 3D printed hitch cover with a TE logo on it. So if you see one of those running around, it might be us, it might be someone else. We have given them out at events before. If you attended Everything Electric in Canada a couple of years ago, you may have been given one. So don't assume that just because it's a vehicle with one of those, it is us, because there are copies running around. But our original 3D printed part was smushed into the actual hitch. The car that ran into us was an older vehicle. It had a very low nose. It ran into us. It basically hit us square on. Everybody in the truck was kind of jolted forwards, and we all suffered a sizable amount of whiplash injury. Thank you, Crangel Barn, Jude Brown, Tom Schaefer, and everybody else who is saying wonderful things. I'm trying to keep this narration on track so I don't upset folks, but also so I don't lose my place. So, as you may or may not know, I have a rare heart condition, and my body doesn't do particularly well with adrenaline. So after the impact, my body was shocked. So I did kind of have a very lightheaded spell there. Because of some things that were said at the scene, the police was called, and also an ambulance to check me out. They checked me out, said I was fine. At least I didn't need to go in the ambulance. So they advised us to go to the hospital because we were all in a lot of pain. We all had very painful shoulders, back, neck, that kind of classic whiplash injury. And we were advised by the police and the paramedics on scene to get to the local hospital. So we did. We were not that far away from the wonderful Patrick and Liv, the electric duo. We were hoping to hang out with them that evening. Unfortunately, we didn't get a chance to because we ended up at the hospital. But we rang them, told them what happened, and they came to the hospital, showed us where the hospital was, and we were able to at least talk to them for a few minutes before we were admitted. For a basic check. Everybody on the team was checked out by the emergency room. We all had to pay our bill before we could be seen. The hospital experience, the less said about that, the better. It was terrible, and there was some question about exactly how careful the hospital staff were with us. They ended up really just putting us in a CT scan for myself and Vi, and Erin didn't get one. But we all left with a prescription for painkillers and patches and things. Obviously, everybody had slightly different requirements in that regard. But the too long didn't read was we left the hospital. I think the accident happened about 6:30 in the evening. We ended up getting to the hospital about 7:30. And we didn't get home to the hotel until about 1 a.m. And at that point, we were all really exhausted. We were really tired. We had been on the road since 8 o'clock that morning. We'd taken regular breaks. We'd switched out. Everybody was happy. We had actually also filmed a drive on the way down. So we made a video, which you should see later this week, talking about making a long distance trip without using Tesla superchargers. So that is a video that's coming out. It's already partially edited, and I think Vi intends to finish it tomorrow. But that was kind of done before the accident happened. And so because we'd put all our filming stuff away and everything like that, obviously that's a blessing. Before the collision, we'd actually wrapped at the previous charging station, which was like 100 miles further north. So we ended up going to bed. I think it was probably 1:30 by the time I actually got to sleep, and we were due to be at Aptera the following morning at, I think, 9. We'd agreed to be there at 9. And given that we were all really sore, we all had really bad headaches, we all had really stiff necks, we had whiplash, we weren't feeling great. The truck at this point was unknown if it was safe or not. It was drivable, but there was some question as to whether there had been any damage to the hitch. And as I'm sure you can all appreciate, 3 important things here. First, when we are driving a vehicle and we're filming, it is something that requires a high degree of precision from everybody involved. Okay, so Vi is sitting in the back seat of the truck with the little remote control to control the camera on the back of the truck. Erin is driving the truck itself, and then I am in whichever vehicle we are filming. And we all had very, very stiff necks, so our heads were not able to swivel particularly well. It would have looked terrible on camera. I was not really... I wasn't maskable, if that makes sense. If you are someone who is neurospicy, you probably understand. Even right now, me talking to you on camera right now, this degree of me masking and performing on camera. And even now, my back is really stiff. I still have a heat pad behind me on my chair here. I have a heating pad. My neck is a lot better. I've been wearing like one of those motorcycle, do I still have it up here? I had it up here earlier. One of those motorcycle neck warmers. I've been wearing that, and that's helped a lot. I have a doctor's appointment on Tuesday to go and get checked out with just to make sure I don't need any physio or anything. Like I say, my back is still really stiff, especially around where my seatbelt anchored to the car. My neck is still very sore. I woke up this morning with a really stiff neck and bad back, but it's actually started to ease up a little bit. But I know the rest of the team is still feeling it. And my point here is that we had a choice to make. We had a decision to make. We could go ahead and try and film at Aptera on Monday morning. And we agreed almost immediately while we were waiting to be treated, we agreed that driving the Aptera production intent vehicle was just not going to happen on Monday morning. Not only is it a prototype vehicle, which means it's very expensive. Like, prototype vehicles are not the same cost as the vehicles that we end up driving. Prototype vehicles are always much more expensive. There's also a lot more pressure on the people driving it because you're being trusted with very often multi-million-dollar vehicles, because sometimes they use, they're not production vehicles, so they have different valuations and costs. But then there's also the case of, because you were driving, if we had filmed chase or rolling shots or whatever you want to call it, we would also have needed to have had really normal mobile neck operation in order to be able to check our blind spots much more effectively. We didn't have that. And additionally, the camera rig that we put on the back of the truck is pushing 60 pounds-ish, I would guess. Maybe a little more, maybe a little less. Somewhere between 60 and 80 pounds, which isn't a lot for a hitch. But if the hitch failed, and remember, we hadn't had a chance to look at it, if the hitch failed while we were driving, And while we were filming Chase, not only would the camera equipment have come flying off, but we could have potentially caused an accident or caused damage to the aforementioned really expensive prototype. And I didn't want that on my conscience. The team didn't want that on their conscience. So we were like, okay, let's scrub it. We then went through the process of going, okay, are we well enough to walk around and talk and do a tour of the factory and to do an interview? And we were split on this. I don't mind admitting that it took us a long time to have this conversation. And I'm telling you all this because I want to be open and honest with you all about this. Also, if you have questions, please feel free to put them in the comments. I can't guarantee that I will be able to answer them, either for legal reasons or because I may not know the answer. But we talked about whether we'd be okay, like filming at the event, at Aptera and setting up cameras and doing an interview. And we decided pretty quickly that the amount of pain that I was in was very difficult because I was driving the truck at the time we were hit. I was not in a good place to stand for extended periods of time and chat with someone on camera. It just wasn't going to happen. I looked like I had not had any sleep. I was feeling extremely rough. And again, I owe it to you all to produce the best content we possibly can. And for once, we went, you know what? It's better that we don't make it and come back when we are all recovered than it is for us to try and go through and make it. And I know there's been a lot of people who've been asking us in the chats, in YouTube comments. I've had some emails, sorry, back hurts, asking me if why didn't we do it, or are we going to do it? Have we done it? And we made the decision it just wasn't fair. Now, the other thing to bear in mind is that one of our things we were going to do was do a tour of the factory, and we had our gimbal with us. Bear in mind, the entire back of the truck was filled with camera gear. We had 3 cameras, we had a gimbal, we had a couple of tripods, we had lights. We were going all in on this. And to do the walk around would have required Vi to follow us with a gimbal, holding the gimbal like this, outstretched, right? In both hands. We've got a rig that you hold like that. Now that requires a lot of core body strength. And if you've got a bad back, if you're sore at that point, it would have been very difficult for Vi to produce steady images, and it would have been asking Vi to do extra work. The same thing with Erin. We would have had to have asked Erin to carry around audio equipment. Now, just so that you are aware, normally when we do a long road trip, we actually take all of our gear out of the truck and put it in the hotel and then, leave it in. We were all so sore, we made a judgment call, and I especially, along with my partner, who was back here at the house, we made a judgment call that no one was to touch any of the equipment because we were all really sore. Some of the big flight cases that we have are 25 kilos, which is 50 pounds. And that is really heavy and very difficult to unload if you have a bad back. So everything stayed in the truck. We didn't open any cases. We kept everything as it was. So Sunday into Monday, we woke up super late on Monday morning. I think Erin and I managed to get down to the breakfast bar just as they were closing, kind of grabbed a quick bit to eat. And then we had to go out and get prescriptions. So we, sometime late morning, we went out and got a prescription for the team members that needed prescriptions like painkillers and muscle relaxants and things. And we ended up driving by Aptera's headquarters. We were all super sore, but obviously we'd reached out to Aptera. We told them what happened. They already were aware. So we did actually very quickly drop into Aptera and say hello to our contact there, a couple of our contacts there, and said, hey, we're really sorry about what happened. And they could see that we were sore and unable to film. So we just talked to them for literally 5-10 minutes. And that was too much. We ended up going back because we were all in a lot of pain. there's not really anything that I remember and or can tell you from me just dropping by. And again, I'm not like trying to hide anything from you. It was kind of cool to see what they were doing, but I can tell you for a fact nothing they said went in and stayed, because my brain was just in recovery mode. And again, that reinforced that we would have done a really, pardon my French, piss poor job covering this vehicle and covering the company had we actually made the decision to do it. So we spent the rest of Monday convalescing and saying ow a lot. I think I went to sleep at like 7 or 8 that day. And then on Tuesday, we made it steadily back to Sacramento with, thanks to large amounts of like ibuprofen and acetaminophen, things you can drive a vehicle with, you can take while driving a vehicle for pain. I purchased one of those heating mats, which is what I've got behind me right now, that you just plug into a power outlet. And because we were in the truck, I could run that off one of the 110 volt sockets in the truck, which was great because it meant that I could have some extra warmth in my neck. Obviously, my truck has heated seats front and rear, so we didn't have to worry about that, but my neck required some extra heating. So if I wasn't driving, I sat with it around my neck, and then I'd have like an hour with it on and an hour with it off, or 20 minutes with it on and 20 minutes with it off. And slowly, we made it back to Portland. We got back late on Wednesday. And again, at this point, driving home, there was some question as to whether we were actually going to do a normal day's work on Thursday and Friday. And both Erin and Vi and I were up for it, at least on paper. But after conversations with my partner, after thinking about it, we were like, no, we need to take a couple of days off to rest, to recuperate, to come back from this. Good night, Stefan. Sorry it's late for those of you in Europe. Thank you, Graham. Thank you very much. Thank you, Jude. Yanquito. Yeah, okay. So here's what, ow, that was stupid. Here's what I cannot say. There is an ongoing investigation. The police report has not been completed. And if you are someone who is aware of how such things work, you can probably infer from what I am not saying as to what the current situation is. So, immediately following the collision, the driver of the other vehicle got out and said something that caused us to call the police. The police arrived and ensured that person stayed on the scene. The police gave us some information at the point of letting us go and say, please go to the hospital. The police, after they checked all of our IDs and insurance and everything else, said, yeah, we're going to have to get back to you on this one. It was a road with a 55-mile-an-hour speed limit, and the lights had previously gone from green to red. Sorry, from red to green. So I had arrived at the traffic light. It was green as I was coming up, and because it was a stale green, if you know what that is, it means you never saw it turn green. And if you've been driving up a long straight road and you're approaching a traffic light that you didn't see turn green, the chances are it's going to go red. So I actually prepared to slow down, and just as I was coming up to the stop line, it did actually go red, so I stopped. We were sat there at the traffic light for about 90 seconds, and then so we were in 2 left turn lanes. We were in one of 2 left turn lanes. And then the traffic that was next to me that was going straight ahead at the junction, they got their green light. So the traffic straight ahead got the green light. And then about 7 seconds later, we were hit. So I can't comment on the driver. I can't comment on any of their personal circumstances or coverage or anything like that. Suffice to say, and I think it is okay for me to say this, I have spoken to my insurance company, and my insurance company has started to process the claim. And there's some good news here. Claim number one, important thing number one. We got the truck checked out by the local accident repair center, and they go, "You're lucky. There doesn't appear to be any physical damage to the vehicle. Based on everything seems to line up correctly. Because we had that little 3D printed thing in the back of the hitch, the other vehicle hit that before it hit us. And that was just enough of a buffer to absorb the impact, push the impact through the actual structure of the truck and through our bodies, rather than crumple anything on the truck. The hitch appears to be in the right place. They are happy that the hitch is okay. So in retrospect, we could have probably put the camera rig on the hitch and driven, and we would have been fine. But we didn't know that at the time, and we had to take a cautious, proactive choice and route. Otherwise, things could have got very bad for us. Because remember, I run the company. There's a liability element there. I'm the boss, so I have to make a smart choice, not necessarily the choice I want to make, but the choice that is the smartest and the most cautious given all the information that we have. So there's no claim on our part. I suspect the vehicle that hit us is going to have a sizable accident repair bill. It was also drivable after the impact. My insurance company has looked at all of the photos that we supplied, and while the police report has not been completed yet for investigative reasons, they're still going through that. The insurance company took one look at my dash cam footage and went, yeah, you were stationary. We can see that you were ow, that was stupid. We can see that you were stationary, and yeah, it's not your fault. Definitely not your fault. You were at a red light, you were stopped, and someone ran into the back of your car. 100%. Not your fault. Based on that, I have had my medical cost thus far reimbursed, which is good because it was well over $1,000 for an accident and emergency visit, an ER visit. America is so weird. Like, legitimately being asked to pay over $1,000 before I could be treated. It's just like, okay. Luckily, I had a credit card, but my insurance company has already reimbursed. I can't speak to Erin and Vi, and for those curious, because I know someone will ask, yes, my truck is insured for work purposes, so it was properly insured. Because if I had had that accident in a different vehicle and my car wasn't properly insured, that could have been a problem for me. Luckily, though, my vehicle is properly insured, and so that was good. But because Erin and Vi were on a work trip and they are employees of mine, I found out, because of the way that insurance works, they have to claim against my company. So that's something that we're going through right now. We're trying to sort that out. Workers' comp is a thing, and the workers' comp will then have to chase the person at fault in this accident for recuperation of any of the medical costs. Unfortunately, I expect that the claim for my team is going to take a lot longer, and that really upsets me because, you know, nobody needs unexpected bills, especially when they were just passengers in a car. So that sucks. Obviously, I'm not going to go into great detail with the team because that's their own personal story, and I'm not going to speak on Erin's behalf or Vi's behalf. I did speak to them both yesterday. They are doing well, and unless something changes between now and tomorrow morning, we all are planning on being back at work tomorrow. So that is the long and the short of this particular incident, and I can just advocate really strongly, get a dash cam if you can, especially if you live somewhere where there's a lot of traffic. Make sure that your vehicle is properly insured. It really did save my butt in this case. I have a policy with a well-known insurance broker who I've been with for a really long time, and that meant that obviously they're more likely to be quite expeditious in dealing with my claim. But could there be ongoing litigation? Who could say? I don't know at this point. We are out of pocket to the tune of over $2,500, and unless the insurance company comes back to me and tells me that I can reclaim that lost money, it is sunk costs that we are not getting back. So all of the hotel costs, all of the charging costs, they're gone completely. So it was a pretty expensive trip on that front. And I should point out that we were very careful about where we ate and what we had and what we did. We don't stay in expensive hotels. We actually stayed in chain hotels in suites, where team members end up sharing. We'll have a couple of bedrooms between us, and we kind of divvy it up between us all. Hello, everyone. Hope you're enjoying your weekend. We are with Stapler. Thank you very much. I'm feeling a lot better today. I'm still very stiff, but I'm feeling a lot better. But I did want to kind of get this all out in the open before we start producing videos, particularly because the first video you're going to see is going to be from us prior to the accident. And I know someone's going to say, I thought you had an accident. Why? You look fine. Why did you had an accident? I thought you were hit. You thought you were ill. And the reaction is, yeah, we were involved in a collision. We are fine. The truck is fine. We're a bit sore. And we took some time off to properly recover. So that is where we are at. I am also sort of going previously on Transport Evolved. Yes, Tom, exactly. I'm really looking forward to going back and seeing Aptera. The invitation is still there. It's still open. I will be going back down at some point in the future with the team. We'll be waiting until we are all fully recovered and we have time in our schedule. Suffice to say, I need to now turn around and raise that money again. So we had some money donated to us by, I think, well, the two people donated very large amounts of money to help us on that trip. And then a couple others helped with quite sizable chunks. And then many of you sent small amounts our way to help us be able to afford the trip. So in that regard, we're not out of pocket. Like, our balance sheet is still fine. But at the end of the day, we're going to have to do that again. So we're going to have to do that again at some point in order to be able to afford to go back down, because we run very leanly. I'm sorry to hear, Anonymous Freak, that you have had to go to the emergency vet. I hope your cat is okay. It says you said Kitty's okay, so thank the goodness for that. So yeah, we're gonna have to save up some money and go back and do it again. And I just want to remind everybody, we only do what we do with your support, and that means going to patreon.com/transport evolved. Now, right now, ow, that was stupid. Right now, we are still not 100% making our way. We're only really surviving because of the kind donations of one of our independent patrons. Let's put them like that. Because they are helping us in a great way, and if we, I really have a lot to thank them for, because they are the reason why we are still going. But we really do need to increase our Patreon support by about another $1,000 to $2,000 a month before things start to feel a bit happier and more stable here. Obviously, we're going to be doing some more adverts. We're going to try and work on some more adverts. If you run a company that you think you want us to work with you on, I'd love to talk. Obviously, we try not to cover things in the industry that we are in, but we would love to do that. And how can you receive funds? Says Paul Richards. You can go to patreon.com/Transport Evolved and join up there, or you can go to Ko-fi. And let me just get my Ko-fi link here for you. It would help if my keyboard was working. The Ko-fi Transport Evolved link, which is right here. If you want to send us a one-off donation, you can do that as well. And it's a great way of making sure that we can continue to bring you content. We missed out on some stuff this past week. I know people will ask, did you get invited to the Rivian event? The answer is no. No, we didn't. A lot of companies tend not to let us near pre-production vehicles for some reason. Aptera has always been really open with us, and I think that's because we've known Aptera for a long time, and they are generally they're pretty chill with us, and there's a level of professional respect. It's really nice. But yeah, we missed out on that. I know there was lots of news that happened last week that I am absolutely livid about. Obviously, the endangerment clause from the EPA that has been horrible, and it's just not. It's yeah. Least said about that, the better. Stop saying ow. We prefer proper profanity. Yeah, I'm trying to be really good and not swear on this stream. I think I may have dropped 1 or 2 swear words, but I'm trying to be really good. They invited MKBHD and he's killed 2 companies. At the end of the day, if a company doesn't invite us to something, that's okay. Either we will get access to it or we won't. I will say that I've been working with Rivian. I've been trying to get a vehicle to review for a really long time, and Rivian, along with a couple of other companies, are in the list of, yeah, we'll get you a vehicle, and then they never do. That is true also with Zero motorcycles, and a couple of others. And at the end of the day, if a company doesn't want to offer us a vehicle, that's allowed. That is their prerogative. We are a small channel. We have seen we are very niche, and not everyone likes our style. And given some of the death threats that we got last week, while I was away, trying to deal with those was fun because of the shooting in Canada. And by the way, my thoughts are with the families of everyone affected. It's a horrible, horrible thing to have happened. We need to stop pretending that guns are normal and okay, because most countries don't have these issues. And I know that Canada, obviously, it has very different gun control rules to other parts of the world, but we need better mental health globally. We need to make mental health less of a stigmatized thing. It's one of the reasons I talk so often about mental health. And why I am very open about the fact that I have a therapist and that I am a survivor of SA twice from 2 different people. And while those things that have happened to me in the past are horrible things that I hate and have impacted who I am and still continue to this day to explain why I am extremely wary around strangers and why I might appear outgoing on camera, but I'm anything but in real life. Unless I'm in a safe space and I am masking, we need more mental health. We need more mental health provision. We need to normalize it and to make it safer for people to feel able to talk about the things that are not okay in their head or in their lives. And we feel that so very passionately. I nearly dropped an F-bomb and then I didn't. I don't talk about my personal life. I know some people get really upset. I don't talk about my personal life because I want you to know everything in my personal life. I talk about my personal life sometimes because it is important for people to understand the context of where I'm coming from and where I'd like to go. And by normalizing discussion of things that are terrible. Thank you, Rudy. Welcome to the channel. By normalizing that, we make a better world for everybody by making it okay and it's safe and it's approachable and people feel less scared about the world around them. I'm all for that. It's why TE exists. It's why, actually, I have been considering changing the name of the channel away from Transport Evolved to just Evolved. And maybe that is the thing that I will do. I don't think I'm going to, but I do know that I, like many in the industry, have kind of grown tired of the way that the auto industry is currently kowtowing to politicians and pushing back against EVs. And maybe a future for us is to actually just to drop the transport and just cover all the cool stuff that makes our world a better place, not a worse place. And that would include EVs as part of the mix, but cycling and recycling and growing things and DIY stuff and all of that cool stuff. Which is why I'm printing this. The X1 Plus expander thing. So I had to print. So this is the test print I made. This is the back of the case, but I'm now printing one out of ABS to test that out. And the reason why we are focusing so much on making things, there's a video coming using this chappy, a 3D scanner. We have to learn how to make and to do stuff. Evolving Warehouse, you're going to love the way you evolve. I think there's some focus on that. And if you've watched the channel a lot, you'll know that I have gone through a lot of evolution in the last way. The politicians are exactly why you need to stay in the transport aspect for EVs. That is the other challenge, though. I don't want you to hear what I've just said and go, oh, she wants to change the channel and blah, blah, blah. No, I want to cover everything that helps make a better future. And I'm worried that mainstream automakers especially are the ones who are driving us away from that. The EPA in the US getting rid of fuel economy targets and emissions targets. It's just bonkers. There's no other way of doing it. And, we are in an existence now where they're now talking about denaturalizing naturalized citizens if they say something that is not favorable to the administration. I'm like, I'm going to be on that list. But yeah, there is an element of in the current environment that we live in where I wake up in the morning and I go, why do I do this job? Why am I doing this? Like, exactly why? There's a lot of the enthusiasm and the joy of finding a better way to travel has been replaced by, oh, great, I'm going to have to spend my day dealing with disinformation again. And I know that I'm not the only person who feels like that. Don't worry, I'm not going anywhere. This is me effectively venting my spleen. But I think we all have to kind of sit down and decide what is important to us and what makes the world a better place for us. And how we can use the things we already have and learn new skills and grow. Those are really important, and I want to carry on doing that. I'm still no, I'm not going to go and reach for that. That would be bad. I'm still building, these little circuits that allow us to stick two metaphorical fingers up at people who want to control because they are wealthy and they have their little palantirs, metaphorical and literal. Wouldn't it be lovely to go back and just exist in the Shire for a bit? That's really, I feel like a real connection to Tolkien, because obviously The Hobbit was inspired by Tolkien's own experiences in the trenches of seeing friends killed, of losing this bucolic, idyllic childhood home that was effectively turned into part of Birmingham. It's kind of eerily prescient right now, the way that we're watching and seeing, whether it's AI, whether it's other things. But I will warn you, we do have some political content coming up. So Kate's working on a story right now, a video. I think it's going to be ready this week, which is going to focus on Mr. Musk and the tall tales that he has told over the last 20 or 10 years of EVs that he's been involved with, nearly 20 years now. And questioning, why are we still, not why are we, but why are many people still following that and taking that person as kind of an oracle for the industry when clearly there's a fair amount of P.T. Barnum going on. So that's the way it is. Mike, I've always felt the channel name is a clever one. Yeah, thank you. I wanted it to be like that because I never wanted to shut the door on other options. And so with your permission, I would love to keep the name as it is, but I would also like to expand what we're doing a bit more. I kind of hinted that at the beginning of the year. But every day, there's little ways that we can do and make things better. And talking of that, I just want to shout out to the wonderful Darla the Great from Darla's EV repair. Darla has prompted me to actually investigate moving away from Discord, because Discord has entered into the age of enshittification, right? This age verification process. Age verification processes I have no problem with. You need to make sure that content is safe for all people to view. But also I'm of the opinion that when you hide things away and you don't teach children how to properly protect themselves, what you end up with is some things that I have experienced in my life. So training your kids how to be safe online is really important as a parent. It's something that I worked really hard with my children to do, and touching base with them, making sure they understood what they were up to. I also will tell you from my experience of being a parent, even though I'm tech savvy, there were always things that my children were trying to do that I was not always aware of. We actually have a Matrix server internally. We're not going Matrix, I don't think, for our Discord replacement, but there are a couple of Discord replacements that I am looking at with a view to self-hosting. Now, we'll have some general rules on that server that will mean it will be required that you keep it safe for work. I am always, I think, always safe for work. I might swear sometimes in our Discord chat room, but I try and be safe for work as much as I possibly can be. And also my opinions on swear words is that swear words are just strong words and you have to choose when to use them appropriately. I know some people have been upset when I've sworn in videos this year. Why are you swearing? That just brings you down to that level. No, it doesn't. If something is really terrible and you have run out of superlatives or anything else that you could use to describe how really terrible it is. Yeah, drop an F-bomb. Why not? As long as you warn people it's coming, and as long as it has a contextual reason for existing. I think we forget how language works, right? You look at Will Shakespeare, right? And how he would change the meter of his plays and his poems and his sonnets to grab the attention of the audience, either by using a particular word pairing or by changing the rhythm of the speech that was being delivered to make people stop and take note. And I think sometimes in today's modern society, sometimes the occasional profanity sprinkled into a video can actually enhance how serious something is. So we are looking at moving away from Discord, and the reason with the age verification is not that it's being age verified. As I've said, I don't have a problem with that. But it's that I don't want my third-party data or anybody else's third-party data. Sorry, I don't want my personal data or anybody else's personal data, i.e. your passport, image, your driving license, whatever, being uploaded to some server somewhere where it's ultimately going to be sold off by someone else. So, there's no need for that. The honor system's worked pretty darned well up to this point in most cases, and you can't catch them all. But with a good moderation team, I think we'll be fine. So we are looking at that. That is coming. And we will be implementing that at some point. We're also looking at alternatives for YouTube, because YouTube has become really enshittificated. And we need alternative revenue streams in alternative ways. I have lost track of the number of people in the last 2 months who've gone, "Oh, you're back. Welcome back. We missed you. We haven't seen content from you in the last 2 years. I'm glad you're back. Where did you go?" Or, "Oh, I thought you'd disappeared." And the answer is no, we've always been here. It's just YouTube's not been serving our content. And so we are looking. I would love to get up a PeerTube server of our own. Yeah, I also heard, question LP said, I also heard but haven't yet verified that there might be a connection between Discord age verification and Peter Thiel and Palantir, and that's really what I was getting at. I didn't explicitly say that because I heard the same report and have not been able to verify it. But heck no, he ain't getting my stuff. At least not that way. So I hope this year that you will come with the rest of the year. I can't believe we're nearly 2 months, well, a month and a half through this year. Hurry up, November. I hope that you will come with us on this journey of discovery as we kind of stick 2 metaphorical fingers up at the auto industry, because I think how the auto industry is behaving towards EV owners is abhorrent. This nonsense with the range extended F-150 Lightning is BS. You can drive 700 miles without stopping, or you can drive 700 miles on a charge. Look, I drove 609 miles on Saturday last week, all the way down to Sacramento, and I think I did all the driving that day, if memory serves. Did I do all the driving? No, I think Erin and Vi took over for the last 2 or 3 legs. But my point here is that I was not safe to do more than that. Like, that was my limit. 600-ish miles is my limit. And I was very glad that that day we stopped for about 1 to 1.5 hours, maybe 1.75 hours on that trip. We saw charge rates of up to 190 kilowatts. at mainly Rivian network charging stations, and it was bloody great, and I loved it. We don't need to do 700 miles in one effing stop, or none. But we do need to have better charging networks, and we're starting to see it certainly on the US West Coast. But that argument is really a moot point. And if you're towing, yes, you need to stop more often to recharge because you're towing. But also, I would argue that towing takes up more mental space, more mental processing power than driving a vehicle without towing. Because you're having to you're rewiring your brain for towing, and you're having to acknowledge and take care of more data than you would if you were just driving your vehicle. So yeah. Was there an episode yesterday for 10? No. We took a week off, and this live stream explains that. So go back and watch and start again. So yeah, I would like to set up a PeerTube server. How it works right now is that we don't have a way to do that here at the house. We have a hosting solution for the Transport Evolved website. We self-host that. We self-host our mastodons. And I host multiple things, but we don't have the bandwidth to host a PeerTube here, and or anything really. And if we did, we'd probably upset our local ISP, who, if you do not know, our local ISP, and I'm not going to mention them by name because they're very, very specific to a particular geographic location. They, after stuff with Mr. Musk, it got to a point where I just said to my wife, I just can't have Starlink, full stop. And previously there wasn't an alternative, so we ended up keeping it. But this time I spoke to my ISP and I was like, is there any way I will pay you extra money? I will give you the money that we're currently sending to Starlink, and I will give it to you if you can improve my network connection. They were like, yeah, we think we can go to 40/40 for free. And I'm like, please do it now. And so they did it, and my internet, now we're getting a local internet. Now, from a perspective of, and bear in mind, my partner's doing a video call right now. So there's 2 video calls coming out of our house. So we're doing pretty well. But bear in mind that, also, I said I'd be here for 45 minutes and it's coming up on an hour. Screw it. Also, we said that we would do, brain has farted, gone down the gutter. Sod it. Oh, right, yeah. So because we are now only using 1 internet connection instead of 2, our local ISP relies on base stations located in the region to send data between them, and it kind of bounces it down the valley from our house down to their local center. Unfortunately, if one of those buildings en route has a power cut, our internet connection goes out. So even if we have internet here, we don't have internet necessarily out to town. So if there is a power cut, if there's snow, which there's forecast to be this week, we could lose our connection, and that could impact 10 or any of our other video shows. So now we are completely free of the Linky and the Star, and the dish is still on the house. I need to take it down, really. But obviously after the collision, I'm not in a safe place to get up on the roof right now. But yeah, we're going to be replacing that, I think, probably with a 5G connection. So we'll see. And so if anybody locally has a rack, maybe some of you have, maybe there's someone watching who has a small ISP, and you would be willing to help me out, maybe let's talk. I don't have a reasonable alternative to Starlink. Oh, I am really sorry. So I bide my time. That sucks. By the way, for our Sacramento locals, and I bring this up because I was in Sacramento on the way back. We stopped at this wonderful Caribbean restaurant on, I can't remember the name of it. We stopped at this wonderful Caribbean restaurant in Sacramento, and I mentioned it in the Discord, so maybe one of the people watching can find it in Discord and bring it up here. There's a really great new Caribbean place, and it was just the best. I'm going to look for it now. Blah, 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 blah. I need to find it. I just found a thing that says, I'm sore AF. Yes, it is. Calabash Caribbean or Calabash Caribbean. YouTube sticking ads in live now. Yeah. Welcome to 2026. Thank you very much, everyone. I am going to be heading. I'm going to be heading out soon, but I did want to just let you know so that we didn't have this big thing, and then if people people watching this right now will know on Monday or Tuesday when the next video drops that we're not ignoring the fact that we had a collision. I just don't want it to be part of next week's content because you'd already filmed that content. There was going to be a 3D printing video. As I said, I've just been making a 3D printed clip for the truck. It's a lot harder than I thought. I had to scan a part for my F-150. So that is one of those things. I also want to, before I go, reply to many of you who reached out, and I feel really bad that I did not respond. Some of you figured out where I was going, where we were going, and many of you offered to meet up with us en route for food, drinks. A couple of people even offered us a place to stay. And I am very grateful and I'm very touched that so many of you wanted to offer us a place to crash. And it's very kind of you and very wonderful and very much in vogue and in line with what we do as a channel, right? We try and we're all about helping each other out and open source solving the problem. Thank you very much, Michael. However, from a safety point of view, while you may all know me really well, I don't know you. And past experiences, of which I have had many, has taught me that there has to be a little bit of a barrier between work and private. There's a handful of people who are probably watching right now who know me personally, who have come to know me through the channel over the years, but it's not like an overnight thing. It is a multiple year thing. And some of you know where I live and have my phone number, and that's great. But that is a step too far for most folk and for us. And while it's really wonderful that people wanted to meet up en route and wanted to put us up, we are always going to politely say, that's really kind, it's really wonderful, I'm afraid we can't make that work. Simply and purely because parasocial relationships are difficult, and also it would not be safe for you guys, it would not be safe for us. No, if you happen to bump into us at a charging stop, that is a completely different kettle of fish. If you would making a road trip and you bump into us and go, hi, hello, love the stuff, great, brilliant, that's good. Please don't stalk us. We have genuinely stopped saying where we are going and when. We've dropped hints, we've been vague, but we have not been specific on purpose because you've had a couple of close calls. Last year, as you may remember, I was due to go and speak at an event. It was a paying gig. And I had to bow out and cancel because someone figured out that I was going to be there and sent me a bunch of messages about how much they love their guns. So, sorry. So I just ask that, in that regard, people understand why we have to do what we do. I don't like it, but it's the only sensible way of keeping us safe and making sure that everybody else stays safe. It's paranormal social, as we're all only here in spirit. I like that. That's a one-way ticket to the big house. You'd think so, but when you are a minority and you're living in a country where many of the minorities that you occupy are also minorities that the current people in power do not like, you learn not to call law enforcement. It took a lot for us to call 911 at the scene of the accident, because for that reason. And we had one member of the team with us who basically dealt with everything. Am I going to need help with the greenhouse cover? So we've got it. We are going to we're going to take the old one off and we're going to put the new one on, and my wife has got an idea about how we're going to do that, and we'll probably film it, maybe, I don't know. She doesn't like being on camera, so I have to do that. But yeah, okay, let's talk about ad blockers, because several people are talking about ad blockers. I have no problem with people using ad blockers. I run Pi-hole on my local network, but I will say this: if you're going to watch our content for free without watching ads, do something good for someone. Don't just send us money. I mean, sure, if you want to send us money, send us money. I'm not going to say no. But at the end of the day, if you're gonna watch our content and you're not gonna watch the ads, and you're not gonna pay for the ability to not watch with ads, do something good in your community. Do something good for people. Make sure that you contribute in a way that means that our dissemination of free information is similarly good. And of course, don't forget, you can watch at PeerTube completely free. You can watch Patreon if you are a Patreon member, but you can also watch PeerTube for free. It's a lower quality video because we have limitations on how much we can put on our PeerTube, at least until we have our own PeerTube server. But that is also, this is also a thing. I apologize. My wife is talking to her sister and getting very animated, telling jokes and stuff. So I don't know what she's talking about, but I will find out. So yeah, by all means, use an ad blocker. I don't like ads either. I am getting extremely frustrated with AI generated ads, and also the conceit. And I do think it is a stupid thing that companies seem to think that we are all dumb enough to just take really badly done AI ads and that we will just acknowledge and accept them, when the reality is that is not the case. Anyway, I'm going to go and take some more ibuprofen because my back hurts. But we will be back to normal tomorrow or Tuesday. Thank you very much for being wonderful. Thank you for being the positive change in the world that we all need. Make sure you get actively involved this year. Ask yourself, what am I going to do to become an active participant in society? How am I going to impart my skills and my ideas and my knowledge and my love and my free time to make the world a better place? It is being targeted by many in power as terrible things to do, but let me remind you that as I told my mum, and my mum couldn't believe this morning, The RFK Jr. said in Congress last week that he doesn't worry about germs because he used to snort cocaine off toilet seats. Ask yourself if that is leadership that we want. And if it isn't, ask yourself how you can become the leadership, how you can help fill that hole, how you can be part of a better solution, because we're not all idiots. Someone didn't quite say that. Stay safe, get well. Not all are idiots. Yeah, exactly. Be well, be kind, be that positive change, be resistance. And ask yourself every day, what am I going to do? What am I going to do today to put a smile on someone's face, to make someone's life better? Not how much money can I earn or how much pain and suffering am I going to impart on other people because I'm unwilling to share. Be awesome, be amazing. Thanks for joining me. Keep evolving.